Hey everyone, it's Alex, and if you're watching this tutorial, we're going to be talking about multicam syncing in both Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere. So, multicam syncing, taking shots from cameras that were filming at the same time and combining them into one so that you can easily cut back and forth between them. So what I have queued up here in Final Cut are the shots from the show Monk. It was a series that was on back in the kind of early 2000s. This is actually footage from an older Final Cut book, but they make very good practice for doing this type of technique, as well as just an exercise in cutting the scene for my film class. But I just wanted to show you first in Final Cut how to do the syncing feature here, and then we're going to jump into Premiere. So as you can see here, I have a couple different shots. Okay, there's this kind of wider shot here, sort of something more that would be maybe at the beginning or maybe the end of the scene usually. There's also the two shot here, sort of a two shot wide, a little bit closer. This is something again that maybe you would cut to at certain points, but it kind of lets you see the whole scene in a wide. But most of the scene is probably going to take place in these kind of over the shoulders here, right? So we get an over the shoulder, this sort of wider over the shoulder, and then this is kind of closer over the shoulder. And you can even see in the wider ones, see in the corner there, there's the camera. Okay, and if I go to the other side, I flip. So this is on the psychiatrist, but if I flip to Monk, you can see there's the wider over the shoulder on Monk. You can see the camera in the shot, and then this one's more of a medium. Okay, and it's meant to cut out those cameras. So you're supposed to punch in a little bit and cut them out, just so you know, at the end of cutting this scene together. But here's the thing about the scene. You could cut it the old-fashioned way and just kind of match up the shots, but you have the advantage here of the fact that some of these shots were shot at the same time. So these wider over the shoulders where we can see their knee, okay, they were shot at the same time. This TK4 was shot at the same time as this TK4, okay? And this TK2, where we're a little more of a medium over the shoulder, was shot at the same time as this TK2, okay? They were shot simultaneously. So that means we can actually sync them together. And these shots in particular come conveniently with the sound already married to them. In some cases, you have to combine the sound separately, which I'm also going to show you. But in this case, it's just the footage already with the sound, and you can just sync the two shots together, okay? This would be like if you had a setup where you had two cameras rolling. As long as both cameras had audio rolling, even if it's the camera audio, even if it's just the camera's onboard microphone, that's fine. That's even if it's not great quality audio, if it's close enough that it can pick up on the waveforms, this is going to work because it's all based on sound, how they sync up, okay? And this is going to make sense once we sync them. You'll see why it makes it more convenient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this TK4 here, this A on the A side. Then I'm going to go to the B side TK4. I'm going to hold command on a Mac, right, so that it chooses both. See how they're both selected with the yellow? Then I'm going to right click on either one of them, and I'm going to go to New Multicam Clip. New Multicam Clip. Now, you could just leave it the default name, or if you want, maybe I'll say, wide over, over the shoulder, whatever you want to say. I mean, it's fine. Then we'll click OK. And what it does is it generates a new file here. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute. This is just showing still the psychiatrist. It's actually not, okay? If you were to go up to the view, and you could show in the viewer angles, you can see both sides of this now, okay? So I can see the A side and the B side here. And you can see that they're simultaneously going.
Looking forward to something.
Man, I'm looking forward.
You know, there is a term for this, Adrian. It's called affirmative reflex.
So why is that useful? Well, let's just say I take a little piece of this. I'm going to do a mark in I and a mark out O. I'm just choosing a random chunk, bring it down to my timeline here, okay? And then let's go ahead. I'm going to turn off this angles just for a second here. That was just to kind of show you, that you could do that. So I'm going to disable angles. Okay, and then we have this clip right here. So now let's just say, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the timeline. Let's just say I use my blade, which is under here, right on tools, or you can push B. And let's just say I blade randomly, like maybe right around here, and then maybe blade around here. Okay, then you can either hit A or you can do the select tool here, and you can go back and you can choose this chunk here. Okay, so I want to choose this chunk of video in the middle, and basically watch what I can do now. I can right click and choose active video angle, and I could choose the B side. See, there was the A side, the B side. Now that chunk of video has switched to viewing Monk. Now watch what happens if we play this back in real time.
Would you like to come along? I'll treat.
No. No, I mean, it's your vacation.
My treat.
But it's your breakthrough, and I think it's the...
You see that? It played it in real time, cutting back and forth. Now, that's going to be very useful for overlapping audio. Sometimes it's nice to see the other person's reaction while someone's saying something. You don't want to have a one-to-one, a character speaks, another character speaks, and you just keep cutting back and forth. It's nice to have some overlap. So syncing cameras really helps with that. Now, of course, if I were to get to the part in the scene where, Monk was going to stand up and I wanted to cut to, this shot here, this was shot separately from these shots. So, of course, I'd have to do some old-fashioned match cutting, which is fine. You may still have to do that for this one and also for this one, okay? And also for connecting the other two over the shoulders, the closer two, right? So there's this medium TK2 and this medium TK2, right? So I'm going to select this one once again. Then I'm going to hold the command key, select the other one, right-click on either one or control-click, and go to New Multicam Clip. It's not synchronized clips, by the way. That's if you were just marrying just an audio file with a single video file. This is if you want to make a multicam clip that you can jump between. So you click that. Once this one, I might say, medium over the shoulder. Click OK, and notice what it does here. It makes a new file. Once again, it shows the psychiatrist, but we know if we take a little piece of this and bring it down, mark in, mark out, drag it down, if I were to control click, right click on the clip, there's active video angle, and I could switch to the B side if I wanted to. Okay. You'll notice there's also active audio angle. Now, since the audio is pretty much the same, it's not really going to matter here, but that would be more important if you were marrying it to other audio and you wanted to switch between, different audio files. Okay, it might even have the original onboard audio here, and then have the choice for the cleaner audio that maybe you recorded with, a Zoom or a Tascam recorder or some external recording device, maybe a smartphone or whatever recorder you were using. Okay. So once again, I could do the nice little blading. I'm just randomly doing this, not really looking at the footage. Choose this little chunk here. I'm going to go back to, switch to A side, and now watch the real-time cutting.
I had a choice. I could either stalk her or plan a little getaway.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're looking forward to it.
I might even leave my room.
Yes!
That cut together very nicely, and I just kind of randomly did it. Okay? Now, you'll notice you have a lot of clips now. Originally we had 7, and this is also just the project file up here. Now we've added to it, and we have 9. So what can we do to clean this up a little bit? Well, you don't really need to see those original ones like these two TK4s. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's this one, TK4 here and TK4 here. I don't need these two. So I'm going to hold Command again, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit Delete. Okay? And notice it puts this red line over them. That's because I have all clips shown here. It doesn't actually remove them when I hit delete. It just rejects them. If I were to go up here and then go to hide rejected, it hides those rejected ones. They're still there, but they're not permanently gone, but they're hidden. So it's a nice way to kind of clean up your layout here for ones you don't need at the moment. So I'm also going to maybe take out the TK2s of the B and the A side here, right? So TK2 and the A side, TK2, same thing, delete. And then we're left with these nice 5 shots here, right? So there's the ultimate wide. There's this 2 shot here. Then we have the 2 over the shoulders. Both of these contain both sides, so they're both the equivalent of 2 each. So basically 4 shots here between them. And then there's also this extra little shot here, which is a continuing piece of another take, which, you know, you can use if you want. It's kind of another little floating piece. Just wanted to add, you know, that's what this one is when he kind of stands up. Okay. But yeah, but with all of this, you should be able to cut the scene. And yeah, the only times you may have to do some, you know, when I say old-fashioned cutting, of course, it's still the method of match cutting is still basically how we cut. You know, a lot of scenes are even shot with one camera, but you know, if we can afford having more than one camera, 2, 3, more, if the lighting lends to it, it's really handy to cut back and forth. And then the only time you have to do some of the match cutting is when you might go from this, you know, this closer over the shoulder, the 2 of them, to maybe this wider one, or if we're going to any of these other, you know, wide shots. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense, and it will help you really cut the scene very cleanly, some nice overlapping audio. Now, if we go over to Adobe Premiere, it's a very similar process. Okay. I also wanted to mention one thing about these files. If you are in my video production class and you are doing this assignment, you'll probably notice when you try to bring these book files into Premiere, Premiere, I should say, doesn't accept them in the same way Final Cut does. So you actually have to convert them. I used QuickTime, and I just did a quick export as a 720p, because that's the resolution, a 720p MOV file. So that's just another thing that you have to do if you're doing this on Premiere. Now, you know, if you're on a PC, you could use another program for it, just a program that will convert them into, you know, an MOV file or something that we can view in Premiere. Usually Premiere accepts all media, just these particular files it was having issues with. The other thing is, because the footage is in that squashed format, as you'll notice up here, you have to do one other step that Final Cut automatically does for you. In Premiere, you have to interpret the footage. So you just have to, you know, control click or right click, modify, interpret footage, see? And then you just have to go to conform to under pixel aspect ratio. And then I believe it's HD anamorphic 1080. When you do that, bam, see how it goes wide? I think, let me see if you can do it to, oh yeah, you can choose all of them at once. So there we go. Conform to, yeah, HD anamorphic. So that'll save you some time. So now they should all be nice and fat, nice and wide. Okay. But yeah, it's a similar process. I mean, basically you just, you know, you find the 2 clips. So let's say yeah, so here's a TK2 here, right? And then here's another TK2 on the other side. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This is, and make sure we get the right ones here. There's this TK2, and then there's this TK2. Okay, so let's choose those. And so I'm going to hold Command. I believe it's on a PC, it's Control, right, to choose 2 clips at once. Then you just right-click or Control-click on either one of them, and then you go to Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence. Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence. This little thing comes up here. Make sure you choose Audio. It's based on audio. I also like to check this, Move Source Clips to Process Clips Bin. I'll show you what that means in a moment. Click OK. And then what it did is it created a new multicam sequence. If I were to double click this, it'll actually show you up here the 2 screens synced.
I just don't.
And if I were to bring it over here, you'll be able to see well, actually, you'll see it as a now I've dropped it into a sequence, but yeah, you'll see it as just this green, because I didn't have a sequence there, generated sequence, but you see it just as this green, you know, implying it's a sequence within a sequence, you know, asset, I should say. But it has the same principles as in Final Cut, where you can control click or right click on it, and then you'll see up here multi-camera, and I can switch to camera 2. Okay, and then of course in Premiere it's the razor, right? So razor tool, it's C for cut, I suppose, is the shortcut. I can do the same thing where I just will blade in certain places. You go back to the select tool, which is V for the shortcut, and then let's play it.
Adrian, I just don't know what to say. I'm speechless. And I'm very proud of you.
That's no big deal.
No.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to switch it. There we go. To camera 1. Yeah, here we go. Now it should do.
I just don't know what to say. I'm speechless, and I'm very proud of you.
That's no big deal.
No.
So there you go. Nice seamless cuts between the two of them, and you can see up here the side by side of it being synced together. Okay, and notice over here it made a folder called Process Clips. What that does is it takes the original 2 clips that are comprising this multicam. See, this is the multicam right here, and this is the new sequence I made. I just want to make sure you understand that. You made a multicam sequence, which is like a sequence, but it's its own, thing. You could go inside of it and see the 2 pieces if you want, the 2 synced files. Okay, but this truly is the sequence I generated. I'm probably going to just call it sequence 1 to avoid confusion. Right? Oop, sequence 1. There we go. So see, it says sequence 1 here, and then inside of a sequence I have the multicam sequence. But up here you do have this process clips, and what that did is it took the original 2, see the A and the B TK2, and it put them inside of here, which I like. It's the same thing kind of as, in Final Cut, rejecting the files and hiding them. It just kind of cleans up your asset space. Okay, and so of course I can do the same thing for the TK4s, right? So there was the kind of wider over the shoulder, right where we see the knee, and then there's the other one right here. Yeah. So I would basically hold Command or Control on a PC, then we would right click or Control click, and then it's Create Multicam Source Sequence based on audio. Click OK. And notice again in Process Clips, it puts those 2 that I just mixed together, and then look, here's another multicam sequence. You can rename this, by the way, if you want. But it's the TK4 one basically. It just takes one of the names there. But if I were to bring this in here, it comes into my sequence as this nice married green asset. Okay, and once again, I have the ability to Control click on it and switch to the other side, multi-camera, switch to camera 2. See, the other thing is if I double click it, you'll see it up here. Okay. I believe you can also click on it and go open in timeline, and then you can actually, see, now I'm seeing, look at right here. See, there's sequence 1, and now there's this multicam sequence. I'm seeing inside of it. So you're seeing the 2 married files. What's interesting about this take is actually one of the clips finishes and the other one continues. Okay, you notice that? Now what that means, if you're on that camera angle at that moment, if we go back to the main camera here, it'll show you black there because that camera side had stopped, right? We'd actually have to switch to camera 1 because the other camera had stopped. Okay. Notice, by the way, there's the flag on the side there, the camera equipment. So once again, you have to punch in a little bit if you use these wider shots. But anyway, that's sort of the basics of multicam, creating multicam sequences and clips in Final Cut and Premiere. But I wanted to show you one more thing, especially for those of you in my video production class. You're going to be doing a documentary project. And this is why, we practice with this monk assignment, because, you're going to shoot something that will probably involve potentially more than one camera. Especially documentaries are very useful for just shooting a subject with more than one camera because they're sitting in a chair. You can have a camera straight on, a camera off to the side. So I actually created this other project file here. Let me go over to it here. And I'm going to go ahead and just generate a new, actually, you know what, it's fine. I can, well, yeah, let's just do that for argument's sake. I'm going to create a new sequence here. Just give it whatever settings because I'm going to change them in a moment here. Oops, did it create it here? Sequence 1. Okay, but I don't know if it created it. Okay, let me just close the monk project for a moment. So just we're not messing with that. Okay, now we just have, okay, now file new sequence. Click OK. There it is, sequence 1. And by the way, if you just drag a clip over, you'll get this message about, do you want to espouse the settings of the clip? It's, you actually, yes, I do want to change sequence settings to match the clip. So now the settings should match, match what the clip is here. There it is. Okay. It's 4K footage, so it's just delayed a little bit. But anyway, this was from the, the tribute video that we had done for the school, for the East Los Angeles Occupational Center. So this clip of this Miss Vaca, who is a teacher of dentistry, I believe, or dental hygiene, is available anyway in the documentary. So I'm just using it as an example here. But it'll just show you, a case where you may have multiple, more than just in the monk case where it was just 2 shots, multiple shots that you're going to mix together. So you'll notice down here, besides the sequence clip, I have this shot right here, right, where it's the sort of side of her face. Then there's another one where it's again the side of her face, and then another one where there's the side of her face, sort of at a 45-degree angle in a close-up. Now, why are there 3 of them? Well, because the camera was rolling for a long time. This happens quite a bit. And so what it did is it split the footage into 3 shots. This will happen a lot, especially we were rolling, I believe, with a GH5. We were shooting a very long take. So eventually it broke up the footage. It doesn't just allow it to stay, depending on your settings and your camera, one really, really long clip. So we were shooting very high resolution, so it broke it up into multiple clips. So this may happen. Each of these are all really one take, just broken into 3 clips. By the same token, we had another camera that was more straight on, right, a medium shot. And this one broke it into 2, okay? But all of this was shot at the same time. And there's even this other clip, an audio clip. It was recording on her Tascam, and she had a little lavalier microphone. You can even see it right there, connected to her lapel. Okay, so like the lapel lavalier microphone. Okay, so that has to be married to it too, because if you just listen to these clips, it's that not so great audio.
I'm planning to leave. I think you make a great teacher.
See all that echo? That's the camera's audio. This is the one we want.
Dedicated to their studies. They were geared.
You can hear that very nice, clean, crisp audio that's right, very near her and on a very quality microphone. So that's the one we really want married with all this footage, okay? So that's what we're going to combine along with the multicam clips. We're going to actually add this audio and get rid of that original audio. And the fact that the camera, but it was a good thing the camera was rolling audio, because if it wasn't, that echoey bad audio, if we didn't have that, it would not be possible to do what I'm doing here. You'd have to do the old-fashioned matching it up, matching the mouth up with the words, which is very tricky, and you try to avoid that. I'd honestly say like 95% of the time, even probably more, as long as the camera is kind of relatively close, the program will match up the waveforms. Even if it's a little echoey and not as good quality audio, it just senses the waveforms and matches them up. It's a really cool feature in Final Cut Premiere, and even Avid. You used to have to get plugins like Pluralize, but now they're built into the program. So anyway, let's go ahead and make this multicam clip. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose everything. In this case, I'm just going to do Shift. You can do Command, but I want to do Shift to choose all of it, top to bottom. So everything included here. Then I'm going to right-click or Control-click. Oops, I'm sorry. Hold on a second here. I lost it. Yeah, sometimes you have to be on the icon itself. And I'm going to do Create Multicam Source Sequence. It's going to combine all this stuff based on audio, if you can believe it. Click OK. Might take a little longer if there's more footage, but still it's going pretty quickly here. And look what it did. It put all the clips inside of Process Clips. And there's my multicam sequence, my asset, my clip that I'm going to use. So let's go ahead and bring it into the main timeline here. And if this worked, I should have the ability to jump between all the different camera angles. By the way, let's go double click here to queue it up in our up here. Now notice at the moment, it broke it into all these different squares, right? And we only see these 2. That's because it's considering all the different cameras, different camera angles. Yes, even the ones that are continuations of the same clip, if that makes sense. So if I go further in time, you'll see eventually this angle kick in. Let's keep going here. Oh, I think it's, I think it's delayed just because, this is 4K footage and I'm doing a lot of, but basically you would see, yeah, it should eventually, yeah, there it is. See, it kicks in here and then it kicks in here, right? That's when this take had finished on the camera was still rolling, but this take, it's still the same take, but this basically had been broken up into, another clip. And same thing, this one had been broken up into the second clip. And then it just keeps going. Eventually you'll see, the third angle here. This one finishes still with the second one. It didn't have to break it up into a third one. So just a little difference in the cameras there. But yeah, there it is. So hopefully that's not too confusing for you. Just think of it as it's all one clip, but it was broken up by the camera into separate clips. Okay, and the way the program's interpreting it is almost if it's multiple cameras. You can see just from here, if you really wanted to, you could have like a room full of 16 cameras going, and sync them all together. It's crazy. But anyway, I can hear my MacBook is heating up just from the craziness I'm doing here. So let's go ahead and move on. If I were to right-click on the footage here, I'm going to go back to sort of the beginning here. And I go under multi-camera. Look at all the choices here. I'm going to flip to camera 1, and then her face pops up. Let's listen.
For the previous demo instructor.
Now notice that it has the good audio. Okay, so when I synced it, that's something I actually forgot to mention. There is an option to remove the source audio and to keep the clean audio. So I just wanted to mention that. But you could, if not, if you had kept all of it, there is a way you could switch between the audio and go to the better audio for if you had multiple audio synced here. But I had chosen, it was in that little box. There was a setting that was default set there that says, in so many words, get rid of the source video audio and to just keep the the audio you're syncing to, basically. Okay, just wanted to mention that. But anyway, so right here I could go ahead and I could flip to, it looks like it's actually camera 4 would be the one that's the other angle in this case. Let me see. Camera 4 should be the straight, yep, there's the straight on one. So I could do the back and forth very conveniently. Oh, it's C, right, because I'm not in Final Cut. And I'm going to choose this chunk here. Oh yeah, this is what happens when I jump between the programs. I just forget what I'm doing. Okay, right click and let me choose camera 1 for this one. Now we should see the same seamless cutting between them all. Well,
So my name is Josephina Vaca. I go by AKA Josie Vaca. I'm a Deno instructor.
So there it is. There it is, going between the two angles. And obviously, eventually, it'll turn black, right? Because that particular, it switched to the second clip, the breaking up of the master clip, right? So at this point, if I were here and I were, having to, get the clip that I wanted, I would have to, right click and switch to whatever, it might be camera 2 at this point. Oh wait, no, is it camera 2? I don't know. I have to play around with it sometimes just to see which one it's supposed to be. Oh no, it was camera 2, yeah, because I was looking right here. So there she is again from the side angle, the 45. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. This makes it so much easier jumping between all the different clips. And by the way, again, if I were to right-click, open in timeline, I can see this is the craziness here. Look, this is all the stuff synced together. So look what it did by default. See how these tracks are still here, the original audio tracks, but see how it muted them by default? They're all muted, but it's keeping the green one, the Tascam one, the clean one on top here. And then here are the different, basically these are the two master clips, but they're one is broken into 2 and the other was broken into 3. But it perfectly syncs them. So, this is going to make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you do event shooting. If you end up shooting like a wedding or, a graduation, I would honestly have like one master camera going and maybe another kind of camera off to the side, let them roll the whole time. And then if you want, you can have a little floating camera and then you just sync it. And based on audio, it'll sync together and you can just cut between cameras. Yes, you still may have to go back and, cut air out, right? Because you have to do some old-fashioned cutting if there's parts of the dialogue that aren't working for you, and that's fine. You just lift it. But, it makes it much easier. So I hope this tutorial has been helpful for those of you using Final Cut and Premiere for creating multicam sequences and multicam clips. And I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.